We bought this property 15 years ago, looking for property more for the animals and outbuildings. This used to be part of a chicken ranch. So that's what all the outbuildings were originally built for chickens. This is the rabbit hutch. I built it here under this big willow tree so it would be shady and a little cooler in the summertime. And we have two actually brand new baby Nubian goats.
I thought they were dogs. Oh my gosh. They're so cute.
This is their day area. They go down in the barn with the big girls. Come on, girls. The goats are in there too. When we found this place, we bought it and it was pretty much everything a tear down, but instead of tearing it down, we rehabilitated everything and added on to it because I'm a carpenter and a woodworker. The house was just a shack. The cottage up the hill there was kind of a fallen down chicken coop. This used to be part of a chicken ranch. Our main project was to build the main house, which I designed and built over a period of 10 years. So we needed some place to live in the meantime, and we were actually renting a cottage from our next door neighbor. So between paying the mortgage here and paying rent over there and me taking time off of my work as a contractor to work on all these projects, the money was going so fast that it became imperative to find some way to live on the property. So I came up with the idea to fix this building up, and we lived in there for 7 years. It was my wife and I, and then my daughter Anna. She was born while we lived there, and we had lots of great memories about that. And then our son Dustin was born. Yeah. My intention was to keep it as rustic as possible to maintain its original character, but also make it, clean and maintainable so you could live in it without feeling like you're living in a chicken coop, which is what it was. It was ready to just fall down the hill, literally, and the roof you could see daylight through. I mean, it was just a complete mess. This is what's called skip sheeting. It used to have cedar shingles on it, and the cedar shingles were all old and deteriorated, and you could see the daylight through those. So I stripped those off, left this on, and then put a traditional standard kind of composition roof on it. That's old redwood. And there are still a few relics left from the original days. You can see some of the old insulators from the electricity that was run, the old knob and tube electricity. This was just a big open space. I put up all these partition walls. None of these beams or posts were here. This was all part of the structural work that I did. And then I put in the kitchen, because of course you have to have a kitchen.
Nice view to cook.
Yeah, one of our favorite things that actually we miss being over in the main house is that there's always quail out here in the morning. This is the bedroom. And there's this great big live oak tree outside this window here, so it kind of makes you feel like you're in a tree house. And the tree is actually growing from under the building, which is problematic structurally, but I decided not to be too concerned about that because we love the tree so much. And it seems to accommodate the building by leaning out of its way. And wrapping around here is the closet area. Tanya's into fabric and sewing when she has time for it, and the kids are learning sewing. So then the closet proceeds to the laundry area, and then the bathroom beyond.
So you had to plumb it.
Oh yeah, I did everything. I mean, and the space is so small, I incorporated all these pocket doors because there's no room for doors to swing. And of course I had to custom make the doors myself because I had nothing else to do.
Sounds like you grew up here as well.
I did,
right?
yes.
Did you know this was a chicken coop? Did it feel like fun living here?
No, because it was. We found a way to make it very cozy, so
yeah.
it didn't really feel like a chicken coop. There's definitely a lot more space in our other house than this one. But I think I actually liked living in this house better because I don't know, it's always warm and I just hope I can live here one day in this house when I'm older.
I sneak over and sleep over here all the time. One of the best parts about it is in the winter because the rain hits the roof, and because the roof is uninsulated, all the sound comes through. It's just like being in a little cabin in the woods.
It took me like a really long time to move out of here.
It took me 10 years to build the house, and when it was finally done, I was like, okay, let's move. And she said, I'm not, I got all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm moving over. You come over when you're ready. And it took her about 4 months. And she and the kids finally made their way over.
Found you. Okay, just close your eyes and count to 10. Now. 1, 2.
We've always loved this space. Life actually seemed less complicated when we were living in here.
I found you! What? You cheated. What? You cheated. It's right there.
Something like this, it's one of those things that you'll remember your whole life having done. I like to look at a structure and see its possibility and all its charm and how to maintain that charm and convert it into something that's functional and useful and yet maintains that wonderful aura that everybody feels the instant they walk into it. Let me just show you the tree house I'm building for the kids.
Oh yeah, I can never.
I promised this would be done for Anna's 10th birthday, and next month is her 11th birthday. She wanted a playhouse, and she was looking at these plastic sheds from Costco, and she said, Daddy, you know, it's only $600. I'm like, we are not putting one of those things on our property. I said, I'll build you a tree house. I build new things all the time. Often it is easier to build new, but I find it less interesting. Even the siding is recycled. I've had it for almost 20 years. I had a job where a client wanted a deck replaced, and she had all the redwood decking, which is what started this whole thing, to an actual cabin up in the tree.
Lots of small structures on this property, huh?
Oh yes, our chickens and ducks. They're a legacy, and they give us lots of eggs too. We can barely keep up with the with the eggs. Hi, Lulu. That's Lulu.
Get your milk now?
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Goats are very entertaining. I never knew before we had them how much fun they are. And they actually give you something back.
But you have to milk them every day, right?
Yeah, I built a machine to do it. Did you really? Yeah. So it's pretty simple. It's just jars, tubing, suction cups, and something to create the suction. I had a basic idea and enhanced it a little bit, and then I had to work some of the bugs out. Oh, good, you're in there. But it's worked pretty well from the beginning. Hi, Mama. The ones that are commercially available are very expensive. This is basically just a motor which has a wheel with an offset and with a air piston on it, and then a series of check valves so that the air is always going in one direction. So you're just pulling a vacuum and then dumping the air, and the vacuum gets moved, comes through this manifold and through the trap and up to these tubes and attached to the mamas. Come on, Mama. You get off. Come on. Whoa, not you. Not you. Basically just take a baby wipe and wipe the dust and the dirt off of it. More sanitary, and actually gives us a better suction seal. When Tanya got goats, she got the stainless steel buckets and the strainers and the sieves. And the first time we sat down here to do it and we start milking, the first thing they do is plant their hoof right in the bucket with the milk in it. Ready, Mama? And I said, well, now what do? You know, nobody's going to drink that. And said, well, that's why we have the strainers. And it just takes a few seconds for the vacuum to get up. Here it comes. And I knew this was ultimately going to become my job. So there was no way that I was going that route. So I immediately started work on this, and it's worked out quite well. And I don't mind it at all. It gives me a little quality time with my doughs. And it just goes into the jar here. To buy something that would do the same job would be about $2,500, and I spent maybe $150 on parts and had some things kicking around in my shop, and so no buckets, no kicking, no yanking. I just sit here with a glass of wine and wait and give them pats on the bottom.
So is there some sort of a timing? Because it goes on and off.
Well, I researched the appropriate range for the animal's comfort and to bring the milk out. And I did some research on the internet and found a vacuum switch that's actually meant to control a car's automatic transmission. And I incorporated that into the circuitry so that it turns on and off within that range without me having to pay much attention to it. Mostly I'm here just to wait until the jar's full.
You know how to milk?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
It was actually my job for a long time. But then we would just have to feed it to the dogs because it was no good because they would have stepped in it like 1,000 times.
So she's all done. There's a half a gallon of milk.
This has as well a romantic part, in my opinion, which is the invention side of it. Doing some research instead of buying the product.
It appeals to the engineer in me.
Exactly.
So I don't feel like I wasted my college education. All right, so she's done. So what we need to do next, we got to do what we call the strip and the dip. We got to do what we call the strip and the dip. You got to get the last bit of milk out so that she doesn't have risk of bacterial infection. And then you dip in iodine. Right, Lulu, and she's being very good tonight. Come on. And she does a very dainty pirouette right up there on the stanchion. She likes to lick my hand. Come on. Whoop. Okay. Now comes the bull. Oh, not you. No, not you.
And oh wow.
So then when we're done, this all gets first rinsed with cold water and then washed with very hot water and then sanitized with a bleach solution. So it's all very sanitary, which is especially important because it's raw milk. We don't pasteurize any of it for drinking or making our cheeses. There's definitely two schools of thought on that, but you know, when you're in total control of your environment and your situation, you going to bed? You can achieve what you want to. That's their little pen. It's all about being sanitary. So then we just break the vacuum with this valve here. And then you just let the air in and see how overfilled it a little bit.
So you didn't know anything about this? You just read a lot about it, or?
I have an engineering background and I'm inventive by nature and don't like to work harder than I have to. So if something's going to be a routine for me, I try to find the least laborious way of doing it. Come on. Okay. Let's go. Come on. Show's over. Come on. Go on. I'll come back to feed you, I promise. And there's our gallon of milk. Then it comes out at 90 degrees, the perfect temperature for starting your cheese if you want to do it right away.